So I was planning on continuing my series on when men cheat, and I wanted to talk about Chad Daybell, Laurie Vallow, and Tammy Daybell. And I also wanted to talk a little bit more about Scott Peterson, but I have had to do this. I've had to do 2 episodes in place of that, and I'll post that another time. So the conspiracy theories in the Watts case, they just get more bizarre. I mean, they are completely bizarre. So the new conspiracy now that a certain channel and some others are plugging is that Nicole Atkinson was involved with what happened to Shan'Ann and the girls. I mean, that's like scraping at the bottom of the barrel. I mean, Nicole Atkinson is now a suspect. You know, if it wasn't so tragic, it would literally be hilariously funny. I mean, have people got nothing better to do with their time? I mean, Nicole Atkinson is now, according to some people, a suspect in her best friend's murder. I mean, it is so ridiculous. There's no substance to it. There's no proof to it. There's no validation to it. There's absolutely no validation, no substance, no proof that Nicole Atkinson had anything to do with what happened to Shan'Ann and the girls. And it's just so ridiculous that people can actually sit down and make up these theories. I mean, complete hoax. You know, it just doesn't make any sense either, because there's no reason for Nicole Atkinson to want to do anything to harm Shan'Ann. There's just no reason at all. I would love to have a friend like Nicole Atkinson. She was concerned about her friend. She knew something was wrong. She got onto it very, very quickly. She called the police, which is something that Shan'Ann's lame-ass husband didn't do. Didn't call the police to report his wife missing. Neither did Scott Peterson. And I think that's one of the things that they both have in common. Neither Scott Peterson or Chris Watts called the police to report that their wives were missing. I think that says a lot. You know, and it turns out that Nicole Atkinson was right. Something did happen to Shan'Ann, because Shan'Ann was very vocal. She was very active on social media, and she knew Shan'Ann was wrong. Was wrong. She knew that Shan'Ann, there was something wrong with Shan'Ann. She knew that something had happened, and it turns out that Nicole Atkinson happened to be right. And Nicole Atkinson has been suffering from a very, very bad illness. I hate to say the C word, so I'm not going to say it. I don't understand why anything like this could happen to such a good friend and somebody who has a lot of substance, and somebody who, like I said, I would love to have a friend like Nicole Atkinson. She was concerned about her friend. She called the police. She did the right thing. And she has never done anything wrong in terms of what happened to Shan'Ann and the girls. She's completely innocent. That I know for a fact. The other conspiracy theory that keeps, doing the rounds is that someone else was involved, right? So Jules of Thought put up a video. I mean, I just think that Jules of Thought is a gossiper. I think she loves drama and gossip. She talks about other people loving drama and gossip and how other people aren't credible. But I think that the same can be said for her. I think she's a gossiper, and she just loves drama. And she was reporting that there were police, I don't know how many police cars around the Watts family house. And she was suggesting that maybe Chris Watts, because, Jules of Thought thinks that somebody else was involved, but it's not necessarily Nicole Kessinger. So Jules of thought maybe the police were there and somebody else is going to be arrested. And of course, Shan'Ann Cadle said that somebody else is going to be arrested soon. And Jules of Thought said, Shan'Ann Cadle says there's going to be another arrest soon. So she thought that the fact that there were police cars surrounding the Watts house gave credibility and credence to her theory that someone else was involved. And she insinuated that Chris Watts was in prison and that he knew something about his parents being involved. And of course, who would Chris Watts want to protect more than anything? His parents. She didn't actually say it in such clear terms, but listening to her, you kind of understood what she meant. I've never thought that the Watts had anything to do with what happened to Shan'Ann and her daughters. I'm not a fan of the Watts. If you watch this channel, if you listen to some of my podcasts, I think some of the things that they've done regarding blaming Shan'Ann is absolutely disgraceful. But I've never believed that Cindy or Ronnie Watts had anything to do with what happened to Shan'Ann. I blame Chris Watts and Chris Watts alone for what happened to Shan'Ann. And but, you know, she was trying to make a big drama out of it. Yes, she did say that, you know, maybe it isn't true. But why don't you find out if something is true before you jump on it? I mean, you know, this is somebody who just loves gossip, and nobody else was involved in the Watts murders. Chris Watts killed his family and or did away with his family, and he's the only person that was involved. Nobody else was involved. And I never ever thought that either Cindy or Ronnie Watts or Jamie Watts or any of the Watts family had anything to do with it. I don't even think that they were in Colorado when Shan'Ann was killed. But, you know, the constant drama, the constant conspiracy theories, the absolutely ridiculous lies and phantoms and, you know, fake news in the Watts case is just mind-boggling that people can still spew such rubbish. It's like, really, they must have nothing better to do with their time. And by the way, don't let Sherrilyn Cadle fool you. Anyone who quotes Sherrilyn Cadle in terms of other people were involved and there's going to be an arrest soon, Sherrilyn Cadle is interested in money and selling her books. I don't think that she is credible at all. I believe some of the things that she said regarding her interaction with the Watts family, but I don't believe her insinuation that somebody else was involved. I think that's just all to plug her book and to make people more interested in her book. I haven't read her latest book, but as far as I know, there were no bombshell revelations, as she claimed would be in the book. From what I've heard, there were no bombshell revelations in the book. Sherrilyn Cadle is about the green. That's what she's about. So don't quote her and say, oh, she said there's going to be an arrest soon and think that it's true, because she's not 100% truthful. Now, the next thing that is making the rounds, it's not really making the rounds, but, you know, a few channels have tried to plug, is that Shan'Ann was harming her children, that she suffered from Munchausen by proxy. Can't really pronounce that word right. But, you know, there is a case where it is proven that a child was a victim of Munchausen by proxy, and that's the Gypsy Rose case. We know that Gypsy Rose has all her faculties, that she can speak well, that her brain is not the, you know, she has intellect, and that her brain is not functioning like a 9-year-old. We know that because I've seen her in interviews, and it's quite clear that she didn't have the ailments that her mother was pretending that she had. So we have proof in the Gypsy Rose case that her mum was suffering from Munchausen by proxy. In the Watts case, in terms of Shan'Ann Watts, there's absolutely no proof whatsoever, by documentation, by corroboration, that Shan'Ann did anything to harm her children. But some channels are trying to plug this lie because they don't like Shan'Ann. And, you know, it's just another conspiracy theory. It's just another lie that Shan'Ann was harming her children. And the other conspiracy theory is that there was one big cover-up, that Shan'Ann was harming her children, and that this was all covered up so that it wouldn't get out that Shan'Ann was harming her children. That is just such BS. Because no one would protect Shan'Ann when it comes to any kind of harming of her children. You know, people sit down and they make up these crazy theories with no substance, with no corroboration, no documentation to back it up. If Shan'Ann was being chased by the authorities, if Shan'Ann was not allowed to be alone with her children, like some of these channels claim, there's no way she would have been allowed to take the children to North Carolina. I know of many cases where people are not allowed to be alone with their children, and every single one of those cases, that parent is not allowed to take their children out of state. Okay? So all this crap about Shan'Ann harming her children is such rubbish. And, you know, the conspiracy theories, they just get worse and worse and worse. And evidently people have nothing better to do with their time. I'm not trying to say that Shan'Ann was a perfect mother. There's no such thing as a perfect mother. But there's no proof at all that Shan'Ann did anything to harm her children. Absolutely nothing. No documentation, no corroboration, nothing by any doctor or police or FBI. Absolutely nothing that proves that Shan'Ann did anything to harm her children. Shan'Ann was a loving mother who loved her children, who would have protected her children against anything and anyone.